Level up your LA Kings experience with the new Vivid Seats Elite Seats. All the on-ice Kings action with even more exclusive access. Enjoy great seats to the game along with premier dining inside the Lexus Club with all-you-can-eat food and non-alcoholic beverages. Plus, get a free Team LA Kings item and parking with your purchase. Score your Vivid Seats Elite Seats tickets today and earn rewards on each purchase from the only ticket company that rewards you for buying. Experience it live with Vivid Seats, the official partner of the LA Kings.
You're listening to an LA Kings podcast. For more episodes of this and every other Kings program, visit lakings.com/podcast.
You're listening to All the Kings Men, the official podcast of the LA Kings. Now, here's your host, Jesse Cohen.
Joining me now, Mike Vogel, senior writer for WashingtonCaps.com. How are you doing today, Mike?
Good. Jesse, how you doing?
I'm excellent. We're here to talk about Darcy Kuemper today, but before we talk about Darcy Kuemper, I want to travel back in time a few weeks ago. We were recording a podcast at our corporate offices on Juneteenth. So nobody was meant to be there that day, but scheduling wise, that's how it worked out. We had our equipment manager on and we were recording a conversation about the new jerseys, the new uniforms for the LA Kings. And we had been going at it for about an hour, and suddenly my counterpart, Zach Dooley, very clearly had received an email that changed his mood. And it was about maybe an hour later that I discovered that Pierre-Luc Dubois would be traded for Darcy Kuemper, 1-for-1 to the Washington Capitals. Where were you when you found out about that trade?
Yeah, I was sitting at home. It was a day where I didn't have to be in the office, and the guy that normally would notify me of trades was indisposed at the time. So I actually got a call from someone else who normally doesn't call me. So I was a little put off by the fact that I was getting a guy with that, is this an inadvertent dial or what? So I picked up and he said, "Hey, I know that, normally this guy calls you with this, but we just made a trade." And I'm like, okay, well, time to spring into action, write a story and try to parse it all without really, having a chance to talk to anybody.
Right.
You got to crank it out in 30, 40 minutes and hope that you can finish it before the leaks start to come out and the national writers start tweeting about it, which never happens anymore.
No.
But yeah, it was not something that I saw coming at all. And for us here in Washington, it was the first of it kind of broke the dam. The Caps making that move was the beginning of a 3-week stretch in which PLD was the first of 7 new players that'll be in Washington this season.
So I think that's a perfect way to spin into the Darcy Kuemper conversation. 7 new players is a third of a roster.
Yeah.
When Darcy Kuemper joined the Washington Capitals 2 seasons ago, he was coming off of a Stanley Cup win in Colorado. He had been with the Coyotes for 4 seasons or parts of 4 seasons.
Yeah.
And he had really made a name for himself in a career. It's not that he wasn't good in Minnesota or LA. I mean, he was quite good in the brief period he was in LA before.
Yeah.
But what happened in Washington during those 2 years? Was it just that the team was not as good as anticipated?
I think that was part of it. I think certainly when Darcy came in there were higher expectations here, given the body of work, as you mentioned, and the fact that he was coming off a cup win. But let's face it, the team in Washington was nowhere near that team in Colorado that he was playing behind. And we saw some good flashes of Darcy during his time here, but never really seemed to put together a consistent, significant stretch. And what was kind of strange here locally is for the last several decades, the Caps have been really, really strong at developing goaltenders, identifying them, drafting them, bringing them into the NHL, better than any other team in the league over the last few decades, actually. And then once the couple of year dalliance with the Ilya Samsonov, Vitek Vanacek tandem was behind them, they went to signing Darcy and signing Charlie Lindgren at the same time. So for the first time now in recent memory, you got two goaltenders who didn't come up through the system here, and you're introducing two of them. You got a whole new tandem playing behind a team that was largely the same, other than those two guys. So I think there was definitely a little bit of a period of adjustment for both of them. And then early in that first season, Darcy got injured in Calgary, and the team was sort of scuffling along at that point. So Charlie had to step in, and he got hot in December of that year. I want to say he went on like a 9-1-1 run there in December while Camps was injured. And so that when Darcy got healthy, Charlie still had the net for a little bit. If I remember right, Darcy came out. I think his first game back might have been right after the holiday break. If I remember right, he shut out the Rangers at MSG. So now you're thinking, okay, team's hot. We got two hot goalies, but unfortunately, John Carlson had taken that shot to the side of the head and was lost for a few months. And that's kind of where the wheels came off of that season. And when they didn't have that piece in the lineup, that 20-plus minute defenseman who plays in all situations, kind of lost their way, missed the playoffs for the first time in a number of years. I don't think anybody was really happy. The last 2 months of that season, I don't believe I think it was the last 6 weeks, they did not win consecutive games. So it was a really ugly finish, coaching change, etc. Then coming into next year, Kemp supposed to start opening night. His wife unexpectedly goes into labor a little bit early, having their first child. So he misses that opening night start. Charlie plays. Kemp comes back, gets dinged up in practice. He actually did win the first game of the season, first coaching win for Spencer Carberry. But I don't think he ever really found his rhythm last year either, because of the season just didn't start the way he wanted it to. Obviously, he didn't get that opening night start for all the best reasons. But once Charlie, again, mid-season, Charlie just seized the net and took it. And from mid-January to the end of the season, I think he led the league in minutes played. And Kemp just couldn't get the net back at that point. Honestly, I still see him as at least a 1A, 1B kind of guy. I think he's better than what we saw here in Washington the last couple of years. And honestly, Jesse, there's a weird stat about Kemp that I think is going to be in his favor as he goes back out west. This guy's career numbers are significantly better against Western Conference teams than they are against Eastern teams.
I wonder why that might be.
I think he'll do a little bit better just on the basis of that.
I don't have a strong belief one way or the other that having a kid impacts your game one way or the other. Like, for every player who has a kid and struggles, I can show you Trevor Moore who had a kid and scored 30 goals for the first time in his career this year.
Dad's strength.
Yes, but I also don't have a kid myself, so I have no idea what it. I mean, I have two sisters who are much, much younger than me, and all my friends have kids. So I mean, I'm aware that it's a drain on your on your focus and sleep and everything. So I mean, did his game change any after the birth?
I didn't see any change in the game, but I just don't know that he ever got a chance. Like I said, he missed a stretch of games right after he came in. His first start, I'm pretty sure he won his first start. And it was one where he was under siege all night. I want to say the Caps were outshot something like 40-20, and they eked out a win in a shootout over Calgary. And Calgary is one of the teams that Darcy absolutely owns in his career, if you look at the numbers. But then after that, he got injured in practice. I want to say late October, mid to late October, and then missed another stretch of games. And the Caps had to call up Hunter Shepard from the AHL, got his first look in the NHL, won a couple of games, starting on second nights of back-to-backs. And then, by the time Kemp came back, Charlie was in a little bit of a rhythm. And I just don't think I think most goalies that I know, that I've talked to over the years, they're at their best when they at least are able to find that rhythm. They're playing every other night. Maybe you get a night off when there's a back-to-back, And the relationship between Kemps and Charlie Lindgren was always really good, really strong, positive. Those guys got along really well. I never viewed it as really a competition, and I think they were both, whatever's better for the team is fine with me. But I just don't think Darcy ever got that. He could never really get the net back from. I mean, he might have made 4 starts in the last 3 months of the season. He was just in a really tough spot as far as I know. He really wanted to get in there and prove that he was, better than what we had seen. But the way Charlie was playing and the way the Caps were up against the standings and trying to squeeze out a playoff berth, they didn't have the luxury of going to anybody but Charlie.
I'm sure Swayman and Ullmark will continue to be the outlier, but I wonder if the further away we get from the Brodeur and Jonathan Quick 72 game seasons
Yeah.
and move into this world where goalies play a much more tandem based rotation, I wonder if that idea of being competitive with your battery mates will just sort of go away. Maybe every team doesn't have 2 guys that work out special handshakes and hugs and center ice, choreographed displays, but goaltending's a funny thing. Everybody knows it is. I have seen nights where I have thought, oh, that goalie is struggling fighting the puck, and yet he comes away only allowing 1 goal or sometimes shutting the team out. Charlie Lindgren, I think in the first game that the Caps played against LA last season, I remember thinking, who is this guy? And then we lost, and I was like, what?
He stole that game.
Yeah, I was like, how did that even happen?
Yep.
But what I've never experienced, and this is just my own ignorance about the goaltending position, I've never had a game where I looked at the goalie and went, oh man, he's playing incredible, and then that team loses. Right? Maybe I shouldn't say never had that happen, but it's rare that it happens. Maybe sometimes it's a goaltending battle and one goalie plays incredible and a lucky bounce gets past him. But I've never had a game where I was like, oh man, that goaltender is on his game. He is sharp, and then he gives up 8. And I'm just like, well, what happened? I don't know. So, I mean, I don't know if you have a better eye for goaltending than I do. It's entirely possible.
Probably not.
So, I mean, how many nights were there for Darcy Kuemper where he was struggling but found a way to battle through? And how many nights where, even if it wasn't...
Well, I will say this about Kemp, too, is that he was criminally under-supported offensively, not just this last season when the Caps were, really struggling to score, but even the season before where they were a little more free-flowing offensively. For whatever reason, that poor guy... you can look it up, the numbers over the last 2 seasons, he's got to be, if there's 60 goaltenders with however many games played, he's ranked around between 55 and 60, I would guess. And a couple of guys from the Sharks are right there with him, teams that really scuffle, Chicago maybe. So he definitely got criminally under-supported offensively. On the other hand, I think a lot of nights he had some good defense in front of him, guys laying out to shot, block shots and stuff. And Joel Edmondson was a big part of that last season anyway, when he was healthy in the lineup. But yeah, I think there were a number of nights though that I could remember where Darcy was, he was feeling it. He was on the beam. The first season, I think he had 5 or 6 shutouts, which was fairly close to the league lead. I can recall a number of games where he was dominant. And he was like the Charlie Lindgren game in LA that you referenced, where he was stopping everything. But yeah, there were a few games this season where he would let one in early that was maybe a little iffy, a little maybe past the glove or through the 5-hole or whatever, and you just be, oh, here we go again, because that was another problem for this team this season was. Once they fell behind a goal or 2, because it was so difficult for them to generate offensively, all of a sudden now you're like, wow, I can't give up another one. And I feel like sometimes goalies, when they get in that mental state, that's kind of the train rolling down the hill without the brakes on. So. Not really understanding the psyche and all that of the position. It, like you say, it's one of those mystery things, and for me, it's always important for those guys to get along with each other, those two guys, because their job is completely different from everybody else in the game. And it's such a mental thing, too. I think confidence really matters. And so the fact that they have each other to bounce ideas off, to commiserate with, I think the relationship between the two goalies and the relationship between the goalies and the goalie coach also important. Those guys are kind of on an island, you know. I think head coaches are like, hey, why can't this guy stop the puck? You know, and then that comes down to the goalie coach, and then the goalie coach has to go to the guys, and you know, I think it can get a little. I've seen it get a little squirrely at times over the years when, you know, goalie gets in a little bit of a rut, and then the coach has to go to the goalie coach and says, hey, we should maybe go to someone else here. And I don't know that any of that was going on, you know, here in Washington this year. But I'm sure Darcy was frustrated by it. You could sense it at times, but to his credit, I think he kept up a pretty good personality disposition through it all here. Very likable guy. I enjoyed having him here, and I do think I think he's got some runway left to his career. And I think he's a better goaltender than we saw here in Washington the last couple of seasons.
There was a game, I don't remember if it was his first start after Todd McClellan was relieved of his duties, but if it wasn't his first start, it was his second or third. David Riddick was asked after a game how he was reacting to the coaching change, you know, Jim Hiller in, Todd McClellan out. And his answer in very David Riddick fashion was like, I have a goalie coach. He's still the same. It doesn't change anything for me. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You kind of touched on it just there, but Darcy Kuemper, one of the questions we like to ask people when a new player joins the LA Kings is how do they handle adversity? Like I said, you addressed it there at the end of that answer, but in your dealings with him, how do you see him as somebody who deals with adversity?
Yeah, I don't see him sulking. I sit pretty close to him on the plane, and afterwards he was always you know, in a good mood. I don't think he carries it. I think he puts it away at the end of the night, and then just goes back out and practice the next day. You know, does his best. You know, I think he never voices any frustrations over, you know, what's going on in front of him. Doesn't cast blame. You know, there's a lot of goaltenders I've seen over the years that are like, yeah, you know, if that guy could have blocked that shot, or you know, what am I supposed to do? I can't score goals at the other end of the ice. I think those guys are few and far between because I don't think they typically tend to last very long unless they're wickedly talented. But yeah, I never got any of that from Darcy.
Excellent. Well, LA Kings fans a little bit familiar with Darcy Kuemper, but it sounds like he's still the same guy. Mike Vogel, thank you very much for joining us today. Appreciate your time.
Happy to be here.
Welcome, media. Thank you for joining us today for the Darcy Kuemper LA Kings media availability. With no further ado, we'll get started. Start with Andrew Knoll. Go ahead, Andrew.
Hey, Darcy. Preliminary welcome to LA here. We lost a couple Saskatchewan guys, so it's nice to get one back. Just first of all, your thoughts on coming here, and also kind of your reflections on your time in the organization. I know it was somewhat brief, but a few years ago, and working with Bill Ranford and the staff here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super excited. You know, I had a short stint, like you said, but I love my time there, and it was really tough to have it be so short because of how much I enjoyed, you know, the organization, living there, playing with the guys. So really excited to be back. I've had a lot of success with Bill Ranford and the goalie staff before, and looking forward to getting back to work and joining the team and helping us get wins.
And I know last season with the Caps, there were some really high highs. I know you and your wife welcomed your first son. Belated congratulations on that. And then the hockey stuff was a lot of ebb and flow. Obviously, you know, Lindgren kind of emerged. I know you had a couple injuries and things like that. Can you kind of assess your season and give us a little bit of a preview of what you're hoping to do next year in a new setting here?
Yeah, it was hockey wise. It was really tough. It was really frustrating at times. You know, obviously weren't winning as many games as I would like, and not playing as much, and that's always tough to deal with. But just try to keep working through it. And although I didn't get to play a lot, I came to work every day and continue to work on my game. And I'm looking forward to the fresh start next year and just getting back to playing how I like to play, and proving that last year was just a one-off, and getting a bunch of wins and helping the team.
Thank you.
Next up, Zach Dooley. Go ahead, Zach.
Hey, Darcy. Welcome back to LA. Wondering, how you and when you found out about the trade, or the possibility that a trade might be coming, and just how that process has kind of played out over the last couple of days, weeks, whatever it was.
Actually, I was taking a shower, and my wife came and grabbed me and said, "I think we got traded." So it was kind of a strange way to find out, but it was a lot to process. But we're both really excited for the move, and now we got some logistical stuff to figure out. But for the hockey stuff, we're super excited.
And then I know a trade is never an easy part of the business, but does it make that logistical stuff a little bit easier, knowing your familiarity, with the area, some teammates, and guys like Bill Ranford, like you mentioned?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot easier just knowing the area, and most importantly, just knowing the team, knowing a lot of the staff members makes it a lot easier. Just feeling at home right away. It's tough going to a new team where you're trying to get to know the area, get to know everyone at work all at the same time. So this will be an easy transition, and we're really excited.
Awesome. Thank you.
Next up, Eric Stevens. Go ahead, Eric.
Hey, Darcy. Welcome back to LA.
Thank you.
Wanted to ask, teams, I think maybe in recent years have really embraced the concept of tandems in net much more, even true tandems. And Rob mentioned the other day that he can views you and David there as maybe being one for next year. I'm curious as to how do you see that? How do you see how how teams deploy their goalies? How's that evolved over the years with regard to that?
I think it's kind of an evolution of how the game's being played. As the game's gotten more offensive, more open, it's been a lot more demanding on goalies physically. So I think it's a lot tougher for guys to go on there, especially play 60 plus games a year. It's harder to stay ready physically and mentally as well, because you got to be so sharp every night. And I think that's why you've seen a lot of teams kind of transition to more of an even split, or lessening the load of their number one guy. And I think just for us as goalies, the challenge is to make sure you're doing all the work that you have to be available as much as the team needs you, and keep your body and mind ready to play as many games as you need to.
And then just my other, you're under contract. I think it's 3 more years, right? Is it 2 or 3?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
3 more.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What do you think about the Kings have had a few goalies now over the last couple of years, ever since, obviously they moved on from Jonathan Quick, tending there for so long. What do you think of them viewing you as a solution? And, given your contract, perhaps one that can be more than, say, a season or whatsoever?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to be joining such a good team. I believe that I can come in and be a stabilizing force in the net, and provide the goaltending that the team needs. Obviously, I have experience from winning a cup just a few years ago, and once you get a taste of that, you want to do it again. And I believe that I'm getting the opportunity to join a team that's capable of winning a cup, and I just want to come in and provide stable goaltending and do my part to help them achieve that.
Zach Dooley, go ahead.
Hey, Darcy. I just had a couple more. I wanted to follow up on Eric's question there. Like, the last time you were here, your role was a little bit different, right? Quickie was an established veteran, and you kind of rediscovered your game here. how exciting is it to be here in a different role, to be able to come back and potentially be the guy when, Quickie has since moved on?
Yeah, it's super exciting. Like I said, I loved my time there. It was only for one season, but it was hard to move on. But that was just the reality of the situation. And, I wanted to be able to play a bigger role, and that wasn't available at the time with LA. And, things have gone really well since then. And now I'm excited that I get the opportunity to come back and fill that role for a team that I love playing for so much.
And then, not sure if you saw yesterday, but the LA Kings logo, when they traded for you, and the logo that they unveiled yesterday, a little bit different. I wondered if you saw the new mark and excited to be one of the first guys to be able to wear that.
No, I've heard about it. I actually haven't even seen a picture of it yet. I've had a lot going on, so I'll have to make sure I go look at it. I've heard some good things, and I think whenever you get a new jersey, a new logo, it's exciting for the fans, exciting for the players to get the opportunity to be the first ones to wear it, and really looking forward to that.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Andrew Knoll, go ahead.
Yeah, I just had one more. Don't want to keep you too long here, but between your stints in LA, obviously the big kind of crowning moment of your career, that cup in Colorado. Can you just share maybe your top takeaway? I mean, a lot of people talk about not so much winning the cup, but the cup run as a transformative experience, something that really takes them to another level in their career, different things like that. I'm just wondering, what's the main thing that stands out in your mind from that run, and obviously hoisting the cup at the end of it?
Yeah, I mean, it takes so much to you go all season. It's 82 games. It's a big season. Then you get to the playoffs, and it's just it's a whole nother adventure. You learn so much about yourself and what it takes as a team to achieve that goal. Obviously, there's so many good teams every year, and only one gets to win it, and it truly takes something special. And you learn what it takes to have that kind of success, whether it's what's within you or within the team build. And it truly is the greatest moments of your life. And I'm so blessed to have had the chance to go through those. And I learned a lot about myself, learned a lot about the guys that I was playing with. And that's an experience that's really invaluable. And I just wanted to be able to do it again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Eric Stevens, go ahead.
Hey, Darcy, you know what? I just thought of it. Just one more. Andrew Cogliano decided to hang him up today. I'm just curious as to if you have any just thoughts or quick thoughts to share of having Cogs as a teammate, what he brought to that Avs club, and maybe even more importantly, what he brought kind of to the room and what he was like there.
Yeah, it's it's going to be sad to see him go from the hockey world, but I'm sure he'll be involved in a different role at one way or another. But just what an amazing professional, what an amazing career he had. I just remember when he came to our locker room, just the professionalism that he brought every day, his approach to the game, and acceptance of the role that we needed him to play. I think that's a really understated part of teams that go on to win, is just everybody, knowing what they have to do to contribute to the team. He was willing to play those hard penalty kill minutes, those hard checking minutes, and embrace that challenge, and was a huge part of our success, obviously, and just his career as a whole. To play as many games as he did. It's not a coincidence. Just an unbelievable professional.
Yeah, I know it's been written about, but I mean, he would speak up when it was necessary. I mean, even I think in those finals too.
Yeah, I mean, his maturity, I think, was huge for us. I remember when we had lost. We had a chance to win it at home in Game 5, and we had lost, and then we had to travel back to Tampa. He just got everyone together at dinner and just talked to us about embracing the challenge, believing in ourselves, the confidence that it takes that we were going to win the next game. And I think it was a huge revelation after hitting the low of missing a chance to win it all, and you could see it in our play the next game, and I think that was a huge turning point and allowed us to get over that hump of winning that last game.
Thank you, Darcy.
One more question from Daryl Evans. Daryl, go ahead.
First of all, welcome back to Los Angeles, Darcy. Great to have you back. Have you had a chance to talk to any of your teammates or the coaching staff yet?
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of the staff members. A lot of people reached out and talked to a few teammates. Excited to be joining them, and lots of people have been offering help if we need anything with the move. So it's been a really warm welcome, and it's been much appreciated.
And when you look at the team, you look at the way that they've played over the last couple of years. What do you like about what you see in coming in the position that you're in?
Yeah, I mean the team's been so hard to play against. I think very structured and deep. Their depth has been as an opponent really hard to match up against, and obviously there's a lot of high end skill as well. The team defends really well, which is nice to be a part of as a goalie, and really excited to just be an added piece to the already really good team.
All right, well, welcome back, and we'll look forward to seeing you when you get in town.
Thank you.
Perfect. If there are no more questions, this concludes today's media availability. Thank you, media, for joining, and thank you, Darcy, for your time.
Thanks, everyone.